Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here, and welcome back to the continuing deep dive into the depths of Shadows of Brimstone. And today we are continuing our look at the expansions with a detailed look at Blasted Wastes, the deluxe Otherworlds expansion for Shadows of Brimstone. This is an absolutely massive expansion that adds a huge number of enemies. I think it is the most plastic in any expansion. So if you really want to add some new enemies, this is a great expansion. It adds a whole new town to visit, the Barter Town. Who runs Barter Town? We got the Barter Town there with all brand new locations to shop at. And it also adds two different environments to explore. You are no longer starting out in the mines. You can now start in the canyons and then move into the desolate wastelands of the Blasted Wastes. So we do have our typical Flying Frog Productions box here. Really nice art. I love the look of this expansion. It's so just kind of bright and vibrant. But there's some details and some examples of some of the things you will be getting in this expansion. And this says, an inhospitable and corrosive alien desert. The Blasted Waste is a distant planet used as a prison world by nearby alien civilizations, marooning their worst criminals on the surface with no hope of escape. Vicious warbands scavenge the desert dunes, searching for resources and countless alien treasures buried beneath the burning sands. So really nice presentation here. I love this cover art. The box art, it is probably my second favorite after Derelict Ship. And let's take a look to see who the cover art or the box art was done by. Corey Hubble. And the expansion contains illustrations by Brian Snoddy, Matthew Morgan, Corey Hubble, and Ben Wooten. So all names that we have become accustomed to. All right, so now let's take a look at our adventure and rulebook to see what is in store for us with this expansion. Again, I do really like that cover art. Just want to give you guys some of the detail there. Really well done. All right, so we have our game contents. As you can see, you just get a ton of stuff in this expansion. So much. Now, one thing I forgot to do, we are going to have to loop back around to this expansion next week because I forgot to put in an order for some of the card packs for this expansion, which they have added encounters and artifacts. I did just put in an order this evening, so I get shipped from Flying Frog pretty quickly because they are just a hop, skip, and a jump away. So we will loop back around and take a look at some of the card pack expansions for Blasted Wastes another time. So like I said, the Blasted Waste Deluxe Otherworld expansion offers a lot of new material. It sure does. Not only for exploring and finding your way across the new Otherworld of the Blasted Waste, but also for all new adventures on the frontier with the canyons. So you get your map tiles, you get your new cards. It talks a little bit about the new town. The Blasted Waste is also home to a new type of alien town you can visit, the Wasteland Barter Town. You get a little bit of information about your new enemies. There are two new types of currency in this game, scrap and tech. And then you're going to get your stun markers, your bleeding markers, some snap fire markers, your Barter Town location tokens, which we will take a look at, and then a day-night cycle tracker for different things will happen during the day and night. At night, some of the map tiles become really dangerous because the acid pools release their gases at night, and so you don't want to be, when it's night, you don't want to be on a tile that has spaces like this. They become very deadly. So that's kind of cool to keep track of day and night. And it's easy. You just kind of move a marker around at certain points. You get two new world cards because there are two worlds in here. You have the canyons, And its special rule is a deep gulch. All enemies are +1 defense during the first turn of an ambush. So that's pretty cool because like the enemies are going to ambush you from up top of the canyon, raining hell down upon your heads. But at the start of any fight, every hero may recover a grit on the D6 roll of 4+. So that's nice. And then in the Blasted Wastes, that special rule is the Wasteland. Whenever a natural 7 is rolled for a Hold Back the Darkness roll, all heroes in the Blasted Waste also take a 1 corruption hit. And then you also use a separate loot deck for determining what kind of loot you're going to find when you are in the Blasted Wastes. I do think this expansion kind of acts as it's kind of a transitional expansion from the 2 old core sets into Forbidden Fortress. You can kind of tell just in the way that they were designing and writing some things that there is this transitional period happening here. And I do believe that this was the final big expansion before the Forbidden Fortress Kickstarter. A little bit more about the Blasted Waste, some different mine and exit and entrance end caps that you can use. A little bit more info about your scrap and tech tokens. You can actually take those and you can use those in the barter town to purchase things. And you can also sell them in any other town or village that you visit. There are 2 enemies from other core sets. We have Desert Stranglers and Corrosive Tentacles. Now, I find both of these enemies pretty boring to fight. And so I've actually substituted a couple other enemies that I feel really fit with this expansion that don't have threat cards for the Blasted Waste. And I'm really not sure why. That's one area where I think this expansion kind of falters, is just in the enemy variety when you are in the Blasted Waste. So I added a couple different enemies, and we'll take a look at that there when we get to that deck. And then we have this sun track here, so that tells you how you keep track of the day and night cycle. Now, one of the big things this expansion adds are the Wasteland Scavengers. So again, this is kind of like the Tradera expansion, where you get your whole other world expansion, plus you get a full deluxe enemy pack built into this expansion, and you also get 2 regular enemy packs built into this expansion. So like I said, a lot of plastic. It's all over there, the gray stuff. And a lot of enemy variety, which is nice. If you like enemy variety, this is a great expansion. So you're going to get different Wasteland warbands that you're going to have to fight. And that gives you a little bit of detail about their abilities and some of the things that they are going to bring to the table. You have these Wasteland Scavengers, and the Scavenger Heavies have these giant like cannon guns. And then you also have Wasteland Warlords and War Masters. So a lot of really cool stuff there. And then this is going to give you your detail about a Wasteland Barter Town. And there's your Barter Town. So each Barter Town is going to have 4 different locations. We'll take a detailed look at those in a minute. Additionally, what's really cool is you get a whole new D36 Wasteland Travel Hazard chart. Very cool that they added this. So very nicely done there. And then you move into your missions. We have Missing Patrol, Ghosts in the Dark, Across the Desert, Starfall, Water of Life, and War Master's Fury. And then we come into our detail on the other world, the Blasted Wastes. An inhospitable desert world, the Blasted Wastes is a harsh landscape of rocky valleys, rolling dunes, wrecked ships buried in the sinking sand, and pools of corrosive acid. Twin suns burn in the sky overhead, while packs of roving scavengers roam the surface, battling one another to eke out a meager existence on what limited resources they can find or steal from one another. You have an unforgiving desert wastes, alien prison world, and barter towns and rust forts. If any of you have played Sekiro, the what was it called? Gun Village, Gun Mountain, Gun Fort. The Gun Fort section of that, those guys totally remind me of these enemies, and the theme of that section completely reminds me of the Blasted Wastes. So here we have our enemy overview of the Wasteland Scavengers, the Wasteland Warlords and Heavies, and our different war bands. We have the Deathclaw Raiders, the Krakenborn, the Night Runners, the Son of Dracoth, and the Flesh Eaters. And then we also have Sand Crabs and Tribal Ghost Warriors. So really cool enemies in this expansion. You also will get some new side bag tokens, so you will get some nectar, some junk bombs, spice, and flash grenades. All right, let's take a look at the Barter Town now. So you still, on this side, you do have the depth event chart. So when you roll a doubles on Holding Back the Darkness, you do have a separate chart now for the canyons and for the Blasted Wastes. So that's nice. And then when you go to the town, you will go to this. You will use this as your town map. And then you will take your locations, of which there is the Wasteland Workshop, the Scavenger Dock, Desert Marketplace, the Temple, which is awesome. I love the Temple. A mining operation, and a Gladiator Arena. You'll mix those up, and then you will draw 4 random locations to see what you are encountering at this particular barter town, like so. And then just like the Frontier town, you will have your large cards here that details each of the different places. So you have your Scavenger Dock. There's your location event that you're going to have to deal with. Some of the special services that you can purchase there. And then on the back here, you will have your purchase items, which this specializes in medical supplies, a gut scrubber. And then here for scientific research, medical, keyword, or cunning, 4 or higher, heroes only. That's pretty cool. I think that's the first one that has like a stat requirement. I like that. And then those are a couple extra things that those special heroes can purchase there. Then here we have our Desert Marketplace, and there's the location event on that. You can purchase some side bag tokens from this marketplace. And then here we have the market back alleys. And those are some of the things that you can do there. You can gamble for 25 to 100 bucks, get a drink, alien dance performance, slot puck, and then you can purchase some items there. Alien shoe, scavengers, goggles, and different kinds of transports. A wild carnuto, a rust cycle, a scrap wagon. Then here we have the Gladiator Arena. And there's the events for the Gladiator Arena. And the back here we have arena battles. You can bet on a match, so it has some betting that you can do. And you can fight in the arena, which is free. And then you can also do healing and training. So really some unique locations in this set. I hope that the locations in the feudal village are unique as well. I hope they're not just re-themed Western settings. I hope they get more creative like they did in this particular town. And that's going to be really cool once we have all 3 kind of deluxe towns to visit. That's going to make in between the missions really fun. And here we have our mining operation. There's the event chart for that. You can purchase pickaxes here and blast charges. And then you can also get some excavation equipment, some fungus crops, which will help you on your next mission. And then you could also work down in the tunnels. You may do one of the following per location visit. And you got to pay some grit to go work in the mines, but you might find some cool stuff. Then we have the Wasteland Workshop, which is kind of like your blacksmith. You can purchase items, rust items, and equipment. And then here you can purchase more items, Wasteland Scrap Armor. So I believe that the the scrap armor. There's special cards just for this scrap armor. Yeah, there we go. So we have this scrap armor here. Discard a scrap armor marker from here at any time to prevent up to 3 wounds you can take. You can upgrade this like crazy. Really cool. And then you also have a junk bomb satchel where you have a whole nother satchel that you can just hold bombs in. So that's pretty neat. It is expensive, 1,500 plus 12 scrap. You can get armor spikes, extra fittings, socket fittings, and then Wasteland Rust Forge. These are for your different upgrades that you can spend your scrap and tech on. So really cool, really neat location there. And then finally we have our temple. If this is the first time any hero visits the temple during this town stay, roll a d6 to see what type of idol the local inhabitants worship here. So it's kind of like a cargo cult. Each type of idol has its own entry on the back of this town card or on the Temple Idol's town card. During this stay, heroes may only interact with the entry for the idol for one idol rolled. So each time you encounter a temple, it's going to have a different idol associated with it. And here we have our location events, different things you can do, and then you will have these different detailed entries on each idol. So you have the massive warhead, the Great Kraken, Darkstone Warp Drive. That's cool. So that kind of connects it to the derelict ship there. The MK2 Warden. I think that would actually connect it to Tradera. The Hall of Bones and the Gateway to the Void. So really cool, really interesting town location for the Blasted Wastes. All right, so here we have our cards. We have started to look at the artifacts. So you will have some new Blasted Wastes artifacts. Wrap, Life Water, Reclamator, a Rust Shield, a Dune Rifle. Pretty cool, all kind of like Mad Max style stuff there. You do also have your Canyon artifacts. So we've looked at this scrap, the Wasteland scrap armor. A cavalry jacket, tribal spirit dance, Captain Bohana's pistol, bandanas, Indian war clubs. All right, and then you have your encounters. So there aren't a ton of encounters, but there is a new supplemental pack of encounters, which I have ordered. Blistering Suns. So this, if you are not in the day, redraw. So this is where the night and day cycle comes into play sometimes, depending on what kind of encounter you're going to have, if it's night or day. Also, if you are interior or exterior, some of the encounters are different. Then you also have your Canyon encounters. Lost Caravan, Rustler's Moon, Sand Scorpions, the Old Mine entrance, so you can go into the mines. Then you have your Canyon map deck here. So your canyons, I really like the way the canyons look. The coloring on the canyon tiles is very nice, very nicely done. Kind of an interesting little path there. You got some water feature there. But I think they did a really good job on the tile art for this. I especially like this one with all the succulents. Really pretty. They did a really good job. And then the Blasted Wastes are super cool because they have like these weird kind of interior and then these acid pools that are very dangerous at night. But yeah, I really like the way that these look. I think they did a very good job on the art. It's a little more evocative. It's a little more exciting to me visually than the Tradera maps. And you will have your normal passages. Then you will have your normal rooms there. And then you will also have your special rooms. The cliffs have eyes. What does this one look like? Oh, that was that one with the nice little trail there. Rivers Crossing, Riverbed Massacre, Broken Wagon, Darkstone Geodes, Man-Eater Cactus. That must be that That succulent tile, yeah. So that's a man-eater cactus. All right, and then you also have your Blasted Wastes map deck, which again, you do have your passages and your normal non-special rooms, and then a bunch of different special rooms. A chittering below, corrosive sinkholes, rusted wrecks, a gruesome warning, desert dwelling, buried cargo hold, and shifting time. You will also get 4 new darkness cards here. Unknown Frontier. Always watching. I love the art on these darkness cards. Really well done. Winds of Change and Dark Possession. This is the Wasteland Loot. So when you are told to draw a loot card, you will draw from this deck when you are in the Wastelands. And this will tell you what you find. You might find some scrap. You might find some tech. You might find an artifact, a supply stash, alien coins, which is coins from the Old West. That's pretty cool. Darkstone dust, and a relic from another place. So super cool. And then finally, we have our threat deck. So like I said, this is kind of where I feel this expansion is a little bit of a letdown. I wish there were more threats from other worlds that had threat cards for this world. So you have the Wasteland Scavengers, the Sand Crabs, you can have a wandering enemy, and then your Void Runners, which those are the natives there. Now, this comes with corrosive Tentacles and Desert Stranglers. I just substituted 2 enemies that I feel really fit this theme of the Blasted Wastes, and that is the Darkstone Scorpion and the Darkstone Hydra. And I mean, just look at these guys. Tell me they don't fit like this Blasted Wastes desert theme. So I have those 2 in that threat deck, so we can face off against one of these. A little bit more powerful. These are both extra large enemies, but they're fun to fight. And it's nice to have them in this desert theme. And speaking of enemies, now we can take a look at the 4 enemies that come with this. So you do have their Wasteland Warlord, and that is this fella here. I do like the enemy design in this expansion quite a bit. They can be pretty deadly. You have a Battle Cry, Swirling Attack, Brutal Blade, a Tribal Shield. And then here you have your information card about the Wasteland Scavenger Heavy and the different war bands. So the heavies will be armed with these giant cannons, these hand cannons. Very cool. And there are 2 of them. So these are kind of your like elite soldiers of the Wasteland Scavengers, these 3. And then you will have your Wasteland War Master deck, and you'll see if they are these are going to assign different abilities, so these will make them kind of unique enemies. Clarius Dracoth, Betrayer of the Empire. High Rod Jin, the Bone King. Tar Rio Gant, the Kraken's Chosen. Rijek of Marn, and Ko Montar, the Red Destroyer. Some of these kind of remind me of creatures that you might encounter in an Edgar Rice Burroughs novel. And then you also have your Wasteland Scavenger. And the first time you play, the first time you face them, you are going to draw one of your warband cards to see what kind of scavengers you are going to be facing. Whether that's the Krakenborn, the Night Runners, the Sons of Dracoth, the Flesh Eaters, the Deathclaw Raiders, and there's two Deathclaw Raiders there. And then the normal scavengers are going to be represented by these tokens, or these models here. And you will have some that come armed with guns, rifles, and then some that are armed with these daggers. So they have scrap rifles, desert raiders. They only hit on a 5-up on range, so it's not too bad. There's their elite chart and their brutal side. Here was the brutal side of the Wasteland Warlord. And then you also have these awesome dudes here, these sand crabs. I love these guys. Super cool looking. They have fear, sand tunnels, heavy plating, pinching claws. They don't have a ton of health, but their defense is 5. That's crazy. Their elite chart. And then there is the brutal side for the sand crabs. And then we have these indigenous people here, the ghost warriors. Spears and axes. They are tribal and demons from the spirit world. They ghost warriors always ambush and are +2 combat on the first round of an ambush. Phase jitter, they kind of like phase in and out of existence. Ghost jump, possessed. They have all melee attacks. There's their elite chart. And there is the brutal side. So yes, this is an amazing expansion. I only wish that there were better or just more variety in the other world threats. Because it seems like there are some enemies that they could easily make threat cards that would fit thematically in this kind of desert wasteland environment. But overall, with the inclusion of the 2 different worlds, all of the different enemies you get, and the Barter Town, this is an amazing expansion for Shadows of Brimstone. Highly recommended, super fun, and you get a lot for your money. So, all right, guys, well, I hope you enjoyed this look at the Blasted Wastes. Next up, I'm not sure what we're going to do next up. I haven't quite decided. I think we might take a little couple of interludes and look at a couple things. I'm going to have another giveaway coming up soon as well. And I think that's it. So thank you for watching. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.